What's up guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to get some work done on the 95 Civic EG. The last track event, I was suffering from some overheating issues. I think a combination of my light bar and the open space over here. It was hot as well, just created a little bit of overheating issues. We're going to try to combat that today by installing a tucked radiator. I teamed up with Jackspania Racing again, and he offers this complete setup for our Golden Era Hondas. You have a tucked radiator, has the dual fans with shroud. You have all the AN fittings and hoses. You have different connectors. Say if you on this radiator you want to use your stock hoses, you can, or if you want to use these fittings, you can also. And we also have the new water neck, which really cool piece. This piece attaches to there. And this now will replace the water neck under the distributor. And then this cap is now going to be sticking out right there. So it's a pretty fairly, should be a pretty fairly easy install moving forward. I think the hardest part is going to be trying to find fitment and mounting provisions down there. I don't necessarily want to cut the little support beam, which connects the lower subframe to the hood support area. I did install this track bar, which eliminates the original front cross member. I'll show that to you right now. Let me get the bumper taken off and let's get some of this pulled apart. Let's see what kind of space we have down there. The only thing I'm really concerned about is just fitting the radiator and mounting it. The rest of this should go on relatively easily and just straightforward. Okay, and here's a just small mock-up. All I did was just tuck it in there real quick. It kind of sat on its own. The fans are up against that little support beam. But it looks cool. The track bar I think is going to make the biggest difference in helping it fit with the OEM beam on there. I probably would have had to cut it and modify it, but this looks like it's going to be a lot easier. Fitment front and back. I don't know about the grill. I may need to trim a little bit, but what I'm thinking of doing, I think I'm actually going to remove that beam so I can push the radiator in a little farther. I had thought about removing a fan, but I don't necessarily think I want to remove it. I'd like to have both there functioning. I thought about maybe just taking one off, and then maybe I'll take it off just see how it fits, and then just blocking that side and having the one fan work. I don't think that'd be ideal though, because that fan pushes the air back to the actual sensor underneath the distributor. I'm just going to cut it because my radiator support does need to be replaced. I haven't done so yet. It's still a little bit crooked after me pulling it forward. Had you watched when I first got this car, I pulled it forward to help straighten it out. And I don't know if this beam really does a huge amount. I'm sure it helps in the support of where the hood latches down and when you push down, but I eventually want to get like some hood pins on here anyway, just for, it's more of like a safety thing of the track in case you ever do have like some sort of accident where you can't get the hood undone, and the hood pins make it easy to pop the hood if you need a fire extinguisher. That's basically why the hood pins are on most of these cars. It's for safety reasons, so I think it'd be a good thing on this car also, but just shooting random ideas off the top of my head as I look and kind of gander at this. But I do want to get, it's up against the bar right now, and I don't want it rubbing on this. I don't want any sort of vibrational metal on the radiator. It could potentially cause a crack in the future. But let's take this down. I'm going to actually get the radiator drained and removed. Then we can kind of tinker around with it a little more and see where and how it's going to look. So yeah, what I'm going to do is just take this spare one. I can flip this over to the actual new water neck for the thermostat. See, that one will go on there, and then of course when we tighten this one up, this is really cool too. Another feature to this piece is that when you put it on, like you tighten it, that way you can angle this where you need to. So you're gonna have your nipple, and you tighten that up just a hair. This nipple goes to your overflow reservoir, so that way you can angle it different ways depending on where you tighten it, and gives you a lot of versatility, putting it in a different position in your engine bay, wherever you want to put it. So really cool feature there on this particular water neck. Another thing to look at too is the size comparison of the AN hoses compared to the stock hoses. They are considerably larger. I know this side is stretched out, but this thing, it fits over it right there. It actually just goes down onto the hose, so you have a lot more flow faster. I think show car, heck yes, throw these on. These are badass, and I would like to say these and put those on a different car eventually, but for the track cars, I think I'm just going to stick with the stock hoses for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Just thought I'd share that in terms of the hose sizes. And here's a better look at it, placed here in the bay. You can see right here, it's just touching on here, and I'm not allowed to put it any farther back. But see how these reach up? Like this one, the original one went right down over here. I think I can just lift that one up and bend it there. This one, just a little bit longer. I think that's going to be a better alternative just for me in case I need to replace something relatively quickly that day. The AN fittings look awesome. I'll save those for, I'd like to do this on one of my other cars, my CRX actually, my maroon one. So that one maybe I'll put on there, but who knows, maybe I'll just stick with the regular hoses just for ease of installation. But I think I'm gonna cut that piece off. I think that'll allow me to like tuck it perfectly in there, keep it away from the front. And right now, see how it's like angled because it's hitting the fan? That way the bumper fits back on there, and maybe I won't have to potentially trim some of the grill here. So I just went ahead and drilled out the spot weld, cut the top off, and you know, it actually feels pretty solid. I think it'll be okay. Now I have plenty of room. Tried to clean up that a little bit. Not that I'm really worried about it. Still, like I said, I'd like to replace this one, but eventually that'll be something in time. Let's see what we can do about the radiator fitment now. So here I was able to get the bumper back on. It looks like the radiator slides right above it. It's obviously just hanging in there. But I mean, I don't know if I'll have to trim any of the grill, which is great. The fans are resting right on the lip of it right now. So I think I found a good spot. The little bar being cut obviously made the room I needed, because now that this side slides in and it stays completely tucked, but still got room to easily access both of those. Imagine having to just take off a hose clamp and then just slide the hose off. That seems like the most logical solution for my setup right now. But I like it, it looks cool. It looks like it'll fit in here well. Now I just need to figure out a way to get it mounted to the vehicle. On the ends of the radiator, it comes with these L brackets. Obviously you can use both. I think one is probably more convenient. Fortunately, it's not long enough. Just a little bit, another inch, maybe inch and a half, would have been perfect. There's a hole here on this side, and on this side of the same area, there's not a hole, but I could easily drill one. I have some steel L-beam. I'm gonna see if I can't bend it in my vise and then make my own that's long enough to just attach these two sides, and that'll make it really easy just to mount it and hold it into place. So that was pretty easy. I actually always keep some of this. I've used it for random things here and there. You can buy this steel stock at like Home Depot, Lowe's. Can't remember what gauge it is, but it's relatively thick. But me doing that, now I could match it up there. Once I find the spot, of course the radiator's not in the spot, like I'll line it up, cut the end off, drill a hole, and I think we got a good provision to mount it. What I think I'm gonna do is add some Loctite into there, and then for the piece here, I think I'm gonna put like a little rubber washer so that way it kind of helps absorb any vibrations to the radiator. So here on this side, I had already drilled a hole there, just kind of replicated the other side. We have now this piece attached to the radiator. We're just mocking it up for now. We're not tightening anything down completely. Start that over again. Put that in there. Okay, so essentially, let me tighten these up a little bit. We can get a better look at it. Put a little bit of pressure on that one. Jump to the driver's side. Okay, so here's a look at my brackets. The hardware, I think it's perfect mounting position. It's resting the fans. You can see the fans resting on there. I don't mind that at all. They are plastic. And I can actually pull it back. I still don't have it tight. You see, I can move it. The only thing it seems to be, just need to make sure it doesn't hit there, but I think when I tighten it, keep it off this piece. I think what I'm gonna do is get a piece of radiator hose, slice it down the middle and just line that piece right there so it doesn't rub on the hood latch. But I think we have a winner for spots. It's now away from the bar. Wasn't hard to make those brackets. Hardware is pretty easy to, it doesn't have to be Fender hardware, I like it because I have others. Pretty easy to install, and from there everything else should be pretty straightforward with the radiator part. When removing the old neck, I still have a stock intake manifold along with the fast idle thermal valve and throttle body. You will need to find a place to run this coolant line now. The new unit does not have a provision for that. So what I will do for now, I like to use these brass T-fittings. I've used these before on some multi-point swaps when there's an extra line. I think I'm just gonna tap into this one on the bottom of the throttle body and tee that off. That way all the lines have somewhere to go and it should be perfectly fine that way. So for now, those are just teed off. I have the new filler neck ready, has its gasket. I tightened these up as much as I could. This one has its own gasket. This one kind of stops where it was, but I went in and lined it with some Teflon tape, trying to avoid any leaks. The only thing that's still rotating is this. I won't tighten that until I have it set up on the car. But we'll get this now mounted up. So here's where I'm at. I got the new filler neck on, got everything tightened up where I think I need it to be. I did add some Teflon tape in certain areas, couldn't think of the word. Some Teflon tape in certain areas. I think I could use it right here, tighten this down, although it does have the tapered fitting. I just added some anyway, same with inside here. So here, this is the OEM hose, and that one fits perfectly. And then I have a second one for the top hose. And I mean, it works. I don't really like how it sticks up so high, but I'm gonna try it for now. I think I'm gonna go and see if I can't find that hose that just kind of bends on its own. Or maybe something that has less bends, just to keep it a little bit lower. I guess it doesn't look bad, honestly, when it's set up in here. There's gotta be the hoses somewhere, but it looks cool because they go in the same direction. Maybe I just clean them up a little bit and then go from there. But this hose is actually an old one that I just keep in my track toolbox. It was working fine when I removed it, but it's more like an emergency hose. And I was just doing it for fitting. But I think that's what we're gonna do. It looks okay right there. And let's keep moving forward. I think I'm gonna finally tighten up the radiator and the brackets now. I like where I have it mounted. I like that it's really tucked deep in there. And then the fans, they have these plugs, which obviously isn't a plug for this particular car. I think I'm going to just splice these two together and then run them to, I have a spare, I should have a spare OEM Honda plug, and then test that out. I won't solder anything up first. I'll just get it connected and see if we can get this cooling system back in business. Okay, I think I'm on the brink of getting it started up. I have to put those wires up there. I'll put them back on the distributor right now. I actually have everything clamped down. I was able to put my coolant reservoir right here. There was already a hole in there, so I just ran the bolt through and the nut. I like where it looks right there. I think that'll be a good spot for it. It's still kind of hidden up in the front. And I just ran a new line to the filler neck. And I think we're just gonna start to get the coolant pumped back in here, see if we have any leaks. Get it started up. I wired the fans up for now. I actually pulled the fan wiring through the front here. And then just have it sitting right here. I gotta check the polarity. I don't know if I thought I might have them right, but we're gonna find out. See if that kicks on, but let's see if we can get this thing filled up and start it up. If you've never used one of these before, this will probably be the easiest way to help get this system bled now that it doesn't have a little bleeder screw. These are actually specific for certain kinds of radiator caps. Like this one fits the EGs and EKs. I have my EF one down there. Those are the only two I keep out because it's all I dink around with. And you're able to put this on there when you're done. It's cool because you can close it off and save the rest of the fluid, lift it back up. But we will leave this off as we fill it and start it, see if we can get all the bubbles out of the system and hopefully get it running as it should and see if these fans kick on. The only thing I'm concerned about is how this comes up so high. Every time I do this, there's some bubbles coming up. I don't know, I think it feels like I got a lot out of the system. I was able to put a lot of coolant in. And I'm gonna start it and just see if it starts moving a little bit more. All right, so I put the car back on the ground just because I want the natural flow of the coolant to get in there. Maybe it'll help. I think being jacked up won't necessarily help. I'm gonna fill that up and let's give it a start. Just put this on so it's not splashing everywhere. I guess that's good enough. Seems to have gotten smaller. Okay, so everything is working as it should. Another reason why I was just using this hose for now is because I wanted to discover any leaks. I have one here. I narrowed it down. It looks like, I think it's, yeah, I can see I just saw a little line go this top, either the hose or this fitting needs to be more tight. I'm unsure, but that's fine because when we change this hose and get one that's a little better, I think I'm just gonna try to find one that's smooth. I might actually try to find both. That way they're just really simple and smooth looking and try to keep them together. But I thought I saw some leaking underneath here, but it looks like it's still dry. I may, when I change the hose, I might just pull off this
the filler neck, pull that out, and then put some RTV in there and let it dry and cure completely, but it doesn't look like it's leaking anymore, so I'll just keep an eye on that one. But other than that, it's set up, guys. I think not really much else I need to tweak. This thing looks awesome. I'm not gonna finish off the video now. I'm gonna try to get those parts and then get everything fit back on, fixed on there. And then we'll put the bumper back on and get you some final thoughts on this radiator setup. And here it is, completely finished up. It's been a couple days. I didn't show it, but I ended up draining the system and I went ahead and applied RTV to every single joint. I was having a leak. I think it was from the top one leaking down, and then from that new water neck there was still a little bit dripping out of the back. So I RTV'd everything, let it sit for almost 2 days actually. I don't see any leaks now. Everything looks solid. I like to clean the engine bay, get it all taken care of, but here's how it looks. I also went ahead and flipped the shroud upside down so the wires come straight up. Now they're tucked a little bit more. Took it for a drive. Seems the temperature seems fine. It's still pretty hot out today. It's almost 100. It's 98-ish. So it's a pretty hot day still. It's a little early, might get a little hotter. I put the stock cross member, the subframe there, I guess the crash bar, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't look like it's gonna fit. I kind of matched it up and probably back there. With this, you would probably have, I think you'd have to trim that bar a considerable amount if you're gonna run it the way I did. You might be able to push, like I have it really far forward. If you want to push it back a little bit more, you probably could and still fit it, but I don't need to. But just for reference, if you are using that, you might want to go ahead and trim that or consider a different option or just mount it a little differently. And right there, I had to trim the bumper. I brought it in here in the corners and just all along the bottom of it. The location of where I put the radiator, it was catching on the corners and I didn't want to touch anywhere. I don't want it rubbing on the radiator or on the bumper. So I just trimmed a little bit and now it fits perfectly fine. I'm gonna put it on really quick and get you one last look with the bumper on the car and how it looks through the grill of the bumper. Here it is, completely finished up. Bumper's back on, bolted up. If you noticed, I also changed my headlights. I bought some new headlights and corner lights. This one's still fitting a little wonky. I'll screw with that another time. Everything is set up, running well. I ended up using a lower Integra radiator hose. This one looks a little odd just from the fitment. It's a Continental hose from AutoZone. They work perfect. Have a spare one in my toolbox, so if I need to change either, I can do so on the fly really easily. There's no leaks at all any longer. It seems to be working perfectly fine. The fans come on at the required temperature. So we're done. I am happy with this. I think it looks so clean with that in there. I know it's obviously meant to look that way being a tucked radiator, but I love how it looks. It looks really cool. Front of the car kind of looks like an intercooler. I think I may put some sort of grill, like a mesh there. I normally do that on the other track cars. Like I have it like that on the CRX and I had it like that on the white Civic hatch. I'll probably do that just to help protect it, but it's sitting in there perfectly now. It's not touching any part of the bumper. And we're good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you're looking at a tucked radiator itself, this one is pretty straightforward and it seems to work really well. We're gonna test it out soon. We have some track days coming up. Excited to try that out and get this thing running. Hopefully I don't have any overheating issues. I think those dual fans will definitely help take care of that. Plus the fact that most of the air is going in, and I've actually
When I was talking about the grill, I was also thinking of making little block-off plates on the corners, which may be like some small pieces of aluminum, cut them, and find a way to mount them. That way all the air is essentially pushed directly through the radiator. None is escaping on the sides, but we'll see. We'll see how it does. I'll keep you guys updated in the next video. With this car, should be a track video, and we'll see how it does there. Thanks again, Jackspania, for all the badass parts. We now have tucked radiator. We have that big drag header, the B series big tube header. We have his engine mounts on here. And we also have his shifter. If you haven't seen my videos on those, I love these shifters. They are just super crisp and clean. So thanks again to Jackspania for taking care of me and sending me some cool ass parts for this car. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.